Welcome. My name is Denise Colangelo, and I'm the Executive Director of the Portchester Council for the Arts, and I'm extremely proud to welcome you all to the dedication of the Luigi Del Bianco Memorial. The Council is really proud to be a part of the celebration of an artist, and one of national renown, thanks to the efforts of his grandson, Lou Del Bianco, who has worked tirelessly to gain the well-deserved recognition his grandfather so truly deserves. We welcome all of you who have contributed to making this day a reality. And now I have the unenviable task of introducing to you the dignitaries that are in the audience. And I apologize if I missed anyone, but I really tried very, very hard. First, we have our Rye-Town Supervisor, and this is in no particular order, our Rye-Town Supervisor, Joe Carvin. And also from Rye-Town, our Rye-Town Justice, John Colangelo. Portchester's Mayor, Neil Pagano. Portchester Trustees, Jean Ciccarelli. Dan Brakewood. Luis Marino. Greg Adams. New York State Assemblyman Steve Otis. And New York State Senator George Latimer. Portchester School Board Trustees Jim Dreves, Carolee Brakewood, and Ann Capisi. Our former mayor, Mr. John McCrory, who's trying to hide over there somewhere, and former trustee Bart Didden. And former school board trustees Peter Mutino, Brian Brady, and last but certainly not least, Camille Lennon. If I missed you, I apologize. It's because I was not doing very well scanning the crowd. That's why I wear glasses. And we're very, very proud of this day, both personally and as artists. I believe that this is the only monument in this town that's dedicated to an artist. And I'm very happy to see you all here, and I hope you will drive by every single day and notice that Mr. Del Bianco finally has his place. So, now it's my special pleasure to introduce the sculptor of the memorial plaque for this lovely monument, Mr. Michael Karopian.
Great afternoon for it. So often people stroll by a memorial or monument and give no thought to how it was created and how many hands went into making of the sculpture. They may not even know the name of the designer sculptor, Gutzon Borglum, of a well-known monument such as Mount Rushmore. Yet the monuments and sculptures in the city continue to inspire many who pass by on their daily journeys to work, school, and play. With this said, it is a unique opportunity that a sculptor such as Luigi Del Bianco is recognized in this way. He was not the designer or creator of Mount Rushmore, yet as the chief carver, he likely spent more sweat, time, and yes, some blood on that granite mountain than its own designer, who was very busy seeking funding for it. I am very honored to have had the opportunity to work on this sculptural tribute with his grandson, and hope those that pass by take some time to honor this fine American who helped create one of our country's greatest monuments. Thank you.
I found out about Mike Karopian when I hired him to make some molds of the Cake Boss presidents' faces. And when I visited his studio and I saw his work, I was absolutely blown away. And that's when I came up with the idea of a memorial. Great person and a great artist, and you're going to see the evidence of that very soon. Our next speaker is the dean of a prestigious Italian-American institute. I'm so thrilled he's here today, and he also has a special connection to a book that has just been published. I'll let him talk about that. Please welcome Anthony Tamburi, the Dean of the John D. Calandra Italian American Institute.
Thank you. This is really a great crowd. It's Saturday. It's really nice weather, and some people might want to be having barbecues and be on the golf course or be on the tennis courts. And here you are to honor Luigi Del Bianco. Luigi Del Bianco sort of lived in that interstitial space that, as the person who carved, did the chiseling and stuff. But let's be honest, if you can have all the ideas you want, and if you don't have the person to realize those ideas, then those ideas don't matter. He now joins, fortunately, people like the Piccirilli brothers, who also lived in anonymity for a while. They're the ones who did the Lions at the New York Public Library that is always credited as a designer, rightfully so, to Chesterton, but we never hear about the Piccirilli, or we never heard about the Piccirilli brothers. And the same thing with the Lincoln Monument. Now we have the, perhaps even some people might say, greater than the Lincoln Monument in some ways, especially as far as the challenge of doing the work. We have Luigi Del Bianco recognized for what he did. I'm here, so that's sort of what I would say as Dean of the John D. Calandra Italian American Institute. As one of the co-directors of Bordighera Press, we were absolutely delighted when Doug Gladstone came to us with this. Bordighera Press is a press that was founded just about a quarter of a century ago to publish those books, good books, that for whatever reason couldn't get published. Mostly poetry and fiction, short fiction, but couldn't get published. And writers came to us, Italian American, who said that they were asked to take their manuscript and to change it and to add a few things to it. Basically, one of the greatest stereotypes, of course, about Italian Americans, and that is organized crime. And so we decided that we would publish them, and we did. We are still here, 25 years later, and I must say that to the 150 volumes we've published thus far, this one, I think, will be definitely one of our most important, without a doubt. And considering you haven't met the author, Douglas Gladstone, but he's an absolutely marvelous person, and he is also an extremely aggressive promoter of his book. And so I think this book is going to have long legs, and it's going to have a long life. And I want to also congratulate Lou Del Bianco for the perseverance in getting to where we are today, because it's not easy, and I'm sure a lot of doors were closed in his face, but he kept on knocking, and some of the more important ones open. So.
Parlato bene. Doug couldn't make it this weekend, but you know, Luigi had one grandson, that's me, but I think now he has two. Doug has embraced Luigi's story and Luigi, and Doug, I know you're not here, but I know you're here in spirit. I love everything that you've done, and you are now an official Jewish-Italian grandson of Luigi. I don't think anybody speaks as eloquently about the Italian-American experience as our next speaker. Andre Domino is nationally known as an Italian-American advocate, fighting against the negative stereotypes that our community has to deal with from Hollywood and television and all of media. I am so thrilled that someone with such a national and really international reputation has agreed to come to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Domino, the Executive Director of Unico National.
Thank you very much. You know, when I first heard this story, I said, what a significant symbol this is, really, of so many Italian Americans, as well as other immigrants, working hard to build a symbol that would represent America so well, probably one of the greatest symbols, Mount Rushmore. Internationally known, one of the great wonders of the world. And yet it was done quietly without being known. So when I heard this, I said, this is really a symbol that we need to know about. And when I was national president of Unico, I invited Lou to come in and speak at our national convention. And I can tell you, I've been at national conventions for years of Unico National. And there was never a time where people were so enthralled with a story by such a great storyteller as Lou. What a great, right? Isn't it unbelievable? When my wife Jenny is here with me, when we were driving up today, we said, remember what that was like back in 2010. When he came off the stage, people were just amazed at this story. And it is a story that we need to tell because of the fact this is the way America was built. Italian Americans that have done so much, and Luigi Del Bianco is a fantastic symbol of that, and we have to support that. Unico National is the largest Italian American service and charitable organization in the country. And we were founded in 1922, specifically founded because of discrimination against Italian Americans. And for the past 92 years, we've been dedicating ourselves to charity and service to the community. But the most important thing that we do is that we cherish and honor our heritage and our culture, because we're not Italian, we're Italian Americans. And our country comes first. And to think that this great symbol that was produced with the direct hands touching on the eye of Lincoln, on the nose of George Washington, and creating that monument with his own hands. How proud we can all be when we look at that tremendous statue, that tremendous thing that's out there, and know that it was an Italian American that brought life to each and every one of those faces that were there. So I want to commit, thank you. Thank you. To me, what the Portchester Council for the Arts did and this community by having this monument, I'm thanking you on behalf of the thousands of Unico members across the country. We have 122 chapters in 22 states, and I know that each of them are going to be so proud of Portchester, New York for doing this, and we will be featuring this in our national magazine, and I can assure you, you're going to have a lot of Unicans coming to visit this spot because of what's going on. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Excuse me. You know, there's a little invention called a clothespin. Why didn't I think of that? Thank you. Nobody here today knew Luigi Del Bianco as well as the next speaker. She's come all the way from California to be here today. This is Luigi's own daughter, Gloria Del Bianco. Gloria.
Hi, how are you all? Okay, oh wow, this is something else, you know? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, family, friends, dignitaries, relatives, and the good people of the great city of Portchester, New York. Village, you're right. Thank you.
Good thing Walter's here.
Good thing. Village. Today we celebrate the memorial unveiling of Luigi Del Bianco, chief carver of Mount Rushmore. This is a profound honor and tribute you bestow upon my father. The entire Del Bianco family, my friends, my father's grandchildren, Andrea, Linda, Nancy, Maria, Louis, Amy, our beloved Valerie, and great-grandchildren, Heather, Kim, and Darren, say to all of you, from our hearts to yours, thank you very much. You know, my father and his kumbadas, you like that, huh? My father and his kumbadas built the house that my immediate family lived in, at 26 Clinton Street, down the road. When I was a child, my father had his studio in the garage where he did his mortuary stone business and other commissioned work. I remember going into that studio and watching him carving away. He had his goggles on and his drill going to break away stone to prepare for sculpting. The noise from the bell was very loud, so I wouldn't stay very long, and it was very scary. Sometimes in the winter, he would stop what he was doing, and he would cook us lunch on his pot-belly stove. I always will cherish those memories, as I love spending time with my daddy. When my father worked on Mount Rushmore, my brother Vincent said he would sometimes have disagreements with Guts and Borglum about the way something had to be done on the mountain, as they called it, the mountain. Both passionate men, Borglum would say, "But Louis, you're stubborn." And my father would say, "But I have to be with you." They always had the utmost respect for each other. They worked together on Mount Rushmore and other projects until Borglum's passing in 1941. As my father grew older, he developed a disease of the lungs from the stone called silicosis. When my father would suffer a breathing attack, my mother would call for the ambulance. And that's when we were living then at that time on 68 Grand Street, down the road also. On one occasion, I remember the ambulance would arrive. The attendants put my father on the stretcher, and out the door they went. Halfway down the stairs, my father yelled out to the attendant, "Stop! I want my papuchas!" The attendant yelled out, "What?" excitedly, and my father would repeat, "Papuchas!" Because of my father's presence, they knew they had to stop. Mrs. Del Bianco, one attendant, yelled out, "I don't know what he needs, but we got to get him to the hospital now." And again, my father would say, "I want my papuchas." My mother would say, oh, I'll get him. She'd run back inside, and within a few seconds, she returned with his slippers in hands. And off they went once that was settled. They could leave now. He was a man who lived with his own set of rules, no matter the danger. This is the same man who took his life in his hands to carve Mount Rushmore, to carve the refinement of the figures on Mount Rushmore, right alongside his master, Guts and Borglum, as his chief carver, and all the other brave men who helped create the National Monument to the United States of America. He was an immigrant who fulfilled his dream. My brothers, my mother, my brother Silvio Vincent, and particularly Caesar, who started the quest with my nephew Louis for my father's rightful place in history, say with appreciation to all, thank you for this honor. My father would be humbled by this memorial, and he would say, "Grazie tanto to the good people of Pogesta." Just like that. In closing, I especially want to recognize Michael Karopian. Where are you?
Over here. On this side.
Michael Karopian, for your masterful sculpted piece of work for this memorial, only which I've seen on Facebook. To the great Doug Gladstone, whose book on my father, Carving a Niche for Himself, published by Bordighera Press, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, is now available on Kindle and in book form on Amazon. Your written contribution shedding light, Doug, on my father's rightful place in history, a testament of historical truth, is deeply appreciated by my family and myself. To the Council of the Arts, and to the many of you for your generous contributions, whether financially or otherwise, who made this memorial possible. I give you a world of thanks. And last but not least, let me recognize my dear nephew, Luigi Del Bianco, who carried the torch after his Uncle Caesar's passing to do the hard, dedicated work for his grandfather's recognition, rightful place in history, and now this memorial. Your grandfather, grandmother, Uncle Silvio, Father Vincent, Uncle Caesar, myself, Mother Angelina, wife Camille, relatives, friends, and townspeople salute you and say, well done, Mr. Del Bianco.
She never fails to disappoint. That was so beautifully said, Aunt Gloria. Thank you so much. So thrilled that you're here. Years ago, I used to go to Don Bosco Senior Center to sing for the senior citizens, and I'd always run into Camillo Pagano. I don't know, I'm sure many of you remember Camillo. And he used to look up at me, because he was quite a bit shorter, and with his finger he'd say, I knew your grandfather. I was proud to know your grandfather. Well, I'm so proud to know his son, Neil. Neil Pagano has been a wonderful friend to the Portchester Council for the Arts over the years. He donated his commercial space whenever we needed it, and I'm so thrilled that he's here today to celebrate his father's good friend. Portchester Mayor Neil Pagano. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. The weather is really cooperating with us today, thank God. But for the tireless and extraordinary accomplishment of an Italian immigrant, one of Portchester's own artisan craftsmen, who heretofore was all but an unknown in contributing to the creation of one of our country's most majestic national landmarks. And but for the love and dogged determination of a very proud grandson, who was determined to find an honorable and rightful place in our country's history by bringing deserved recognition for this magnificent achievement. The village of Portchester hereby joins many others in memorializing and celebrating the accomplishments of Luigi Del Bianco, a master stone carver, and does hereby further state. Luigi Del Bianco was born aboard a ship near Le Havre, France, in May 8, 1892. His parents, Vincenzo and Osvaldo, were returning from the United States to Italy. His interest for wood carving started as a small boy in his father's wood carving shop. And at 11 years old, his father took him to Austria to study under a skilled stone carver. And then he later went to study in Venice, and then headed to Bari, Vermont in America, where he learned that skilled carvers were needed. Luigi Del Bianco was hired in 1933 by the Borglum Stanford Studio to be the chief stone carver on the Mount Rushmore National Monument. His job was to carve the refinement of expression, or the detail in the faces, and it was Luigi who carved the lifelike eyes of Lincoln and also single-handedly saved the face of Jefferson, a task good son Borglum would have entrusted to no one else. In 1966, Luigi, in an interview, stated, "I would do it all again, even knowing all the hardships involved. I would work at Mount Rushmore even without pay if necessary. It was a great privilege granted to me." And so forth, ladies and gentlemen, it is hereby resolved that I, Neil Pagano, Mayor of the Village of Portchester, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, in recognition of the high achievement and outstanding contribution wish to extend this expression of recognition and appreciation to Luigi Del Bianco, and do further hereby proclaim that Saturday, June 21st, 2014, shall henceforth be recognized as Luigi Del Bianco Day.
Thank you so much, Neil. This is wonderful. When I first started performing my one-man show about my grandfather, you're probably wondering why I'm dressed this way. Yes. It's on the table over there, you'll see a photo where the flyers are of Luigi in the studio studying the eyes of Abraham Lincoln. He's dressed in knickers, or also known as +4s. And when I perform my show, I bring him to life from that photograph. So I thought it was apropos that I dress as my grandfather. I also am trying to bring the style back because I like it. And so one of the first times I performed my program, it was in sponsorship with the town of Rye, with the support of our Rye Town Supervisor, Joe Carvin. Joe actually wrote to Mount Rushmore, making a case for why they should invite me to perform my show, and they did. He has been supportive of my grandfather's story from the very beginning. Please welcome Rye Town Supervisor Joseph Carvin.
Thank you very much. Today is a great day for America and Portchester. I'm very proud and honored to be able to have the opportunity to speak to you. We're here to commemorate a wonderful man who eventually came to call Portchester his home. We're here to commemorate a man whose contribution to history was to be the chief carver of a monument designed to memorialize 4 great men in our nation's history: George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and Teddy Roosevelt. We come here to remember a man who made Portchester and the United States proud. And I'd like to suggest to you a part of Luigi Del Bianco's talent and contribution goes beyond the monument he created. I would like to suggest that just as important as his contribution to our nation's most famous monument is the family legacy and roots he left here in Portchester. Now, I doubt very much when Luigi arrived here in 1909, just 46 years after Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, that he was thinking that he would ever become the chief carver on our nation's most famous monument. I doubt very much that Luigi arrived at the age of 17, was thinking that some 105 years after he arrived, that his grandson, would be unveiling a memorial here in Portchester, New York, to commemorate him. Luigi came to call his home in Portchester. He settled here in 1920. It was while he was living here in Portchester that he met Mount Rushmore designer Gutzon Borglum. Borglum immediately recognized Luigi's talents and invited him to be one of the chief carvers of our nation's leading monuments. There, dangling in the sky, 500 feet above the ground, Luigi was charged with the task of fixing the gaze and impressions of our nation's leading figures. A gaze that would last for hundreds and hundreds of years. Borglum wrote, "He is the only intelligent, efficient stone carver on the work who understands the language of the sculptor." He said of Luigi, "He's worth any 3 men I could find for this particular form of work." Now, what about the legacy? You know, we're an immigrant community here in Portchester. And one of the things I love about the United States is we're a nation of immigrants. We're a nation organized around an idea. We're humanity organized around an idea. In those days, the standard textbooks didn't treat Italian Americans fairly. And the legacy, we would not be here today if it wasn't for Luigi's son, Cesar. And after reading these books, Cesar went to Washington. And he did his research. And he uncovered Borglum's quotes, uncovered Borglum's diaries. And that's how we know today about what Luigi did. Before Cesar passed away, he said to his nephew, Lou, he said, "Lou, you now have to carry on Mount Rushmore." And as you all know, Lou has done that and more. Now, I first met Luigi Del Bianco in 2010, as Lou just mentioned, when he performed in the play Flashbacks. I saw Lou become Luigi. I saw him take us up that mountain 500 feet in the air, look in Abe Lincoln's eyes, and bring them to life. It was one of the best theatrical performances I've ever seen. I was proud to recommend that Lou go to Mount Rushmore, and I'm proud here to be here today. Luigi Del Bianco is a tremendous service, a tremendous citizen, a tremendous American. Cesar Del Bianco was a tremendous American, a tremendous citizen of Portchester, and so is Lou Del Bianco. This is what makes America great. Thank you so much, Lou.
Wow, I'll have very little to say at the end. You've all just so eloquently described so many things that I was going to say. Before I go to our next speaker, I do want to make it known that back in 1991, at the 50th anniversary of the carving of Mount Rushmore, one of our finest citizens, who is the head of our historical society, took it upon herself single-handedly to get the U.S. government to issue a hand cancellation stamp of my grandfather. The Del Bianco family will forever be grateful to Goldie Solomon for doing that. Can we just give Goldie a round of applause? Goldie wants everyone to know that Luigi, is not just known for Mount Rushmore, but he set all of the statues in front of Corpus Christi Church. He built the base for the Spanish War Memorial. The Lady of Fatima statue in Holy Rosary Church, the Columbus statue in Columbus Park. His hand has been set in many memorials, and I think it's very fitting that now he has a memorial for himself. So thank you, Goldie. What can I say about our last speaker? George Latimer, to me, is truly a man of the people. He was just on the floor of the Senate talking about my grandfather. I'm not going to get into it. I'm sure he'll tell you all about that. We all love him. New York State Senator George Latimer.
What a beautiful day.
Yeah.
In 1880, late 1880s, a very young man, probably just over the age of 18, left the port of Naples. That man was by the name of Donato Mainero, and he was a stonemason, not of the same quality. And he came to America looking for a better life. While living here in Westchester, Donato had 13 children, one of whom was named Joe. Might have been Giuseppe as far as I know, but it was Joe as far as I know, in 1902. He became a Harrison police officer. In 1923, Joe had a little baby girl, Loretta. And in 1953, that Loretta had a little baby boy named George. And it is that person who's standing before you today, understanding the pride that Lou Del Bianco has, that I have, thinking of an ancestor whom I never met, who came to this country as the Del Biancos did, and came with the pride of their native land and pride in their adoptive land, and became truly both Italian and American at the same time. This is a story to make those of us who have Italian blood proud. And by the way, on St. Patrick's Day, if you see me equally proud, it's because the other great-grandfather came from County Derry. I'm not pandering. Just one of each. I'm proud to have both heritages. But this is also a story for all Americans. Because in the America that Luigi Del Bianco did his work in, or Donato Mainero came to, there was prejudice. There were Italian American immigrants who were called WAPs, without papers. It was the era of Sacco and Vanzetti, where people were prosecuted, and prosecuted perhaps unjustly. But there was also signs in store windows that said, Nina, no Irish need apply. And the African Americans amongst us could not sit at the countertops. And those who immigrated from Asia and from Latin America were also treated as third and fourth class citizens. So when we honor today Luigi Del Bianco, we're saying, as was said more articulately by me, this is a man born in another country who came to this land and embraced America and has made America come alive for us on that mountainside in South Dakota. And when he did it for America, he did it for Italian Americans and Irish Americans and Polish Americans and African Americans and Latino Americans. All of us celebrate what this accomplishment is. This is a story of hope and faith. And in hope and faith, it represents a commitment over the years that did not die. And the Del Biancos to this day, now embodied in Lou, did not give up hope, did not forget. And Portchester did not forget.
They did not.
And the state of New York hasn't lost faith either in this story. That's why I'm here today. I'm going to ask my colleague from the State Assembly, Steve Otis, to come up here to join me to make this presentation. But let me say what most of us know, whether you have a background in any of the faiths that we call Judeo-Christian history, there's a tablet that came down from Mount Zion with 10 immutable requirements that the Almighty required of us. And one of them, you saw the 10 Commandments like I did, burned by fire into the hands of Charlton Heston. It said, "Thou shalt honor thy mother and thy father." Who can you think of that has honored his ancestors more than Lou Del Bianco has? So together from the state of New York, adopted in the Assembly, as well as in the New York State Senate, I'm fond of saying that doesn't happen often, that both houses agree. Steve and I have just left a week of lack of agreements. But Lou, we want you to come up here and accept this recognition from the state of New York. By force of your personality, New York State remembers Luigi Del Bianco.
We all know, we've known for a long time, that Lou is a great storyteller. He's told stories to all of us, to the children of this community, but the greatest story Lou has ever told is the story of his grandfather. And the fact that we are all here today, and this is a gift. Your storytelling is a gift, but this is a gift not just to all of us, it is a gift to the United States of America that your grandfather is remembered for his rightful place and for the great contribution, the art, and the history of this country that he has helped make possible. Congratulations.
We're almost there. Thank you. We're almost there. Beautiful day. A lot of people are asking me why this site. Well, this site was originally suggested to me by my sister, Andrea Dower. But I was interested in other locations. So I kind of put it at the back of my mind. Well, those other locations did not work out. And so I went back here. And I'm standing and I realized, this is perfect. Foot traffic. We've got the high school kids walking by every day. Generations of high school children will see this memorial. Andrea was absolutely right. So what did I learn? Always listen to your big sister. Where is she? I can name every person on the program, but in the interest of time, I hope that you'll study the program. I hope that you'll go to those individuals when you see them and thank them. They all collectively gave their time, their talent, their effort, their labor, and their love to make this memorial a reality. A comment was made about my storytelling, and it really is true. I've been telling stories for 27 years, but I really do believe that this is the story that I was meant to tell. When I was 8 years old, I found a pamphlet on Mount Rushmore. And I remember sitting there feverishly looking at the photos of the men working, looking for my grandfather. Is he there? Is he there? No, I think I see him. That's not him. He wasn't in any photos. Chief Carver. I couldn't find him, and I've really been looking for him ever since. In 1986, my Uncle Caesar and I bought a book. It was the definitive book on Mount Rushmore, the carving of Mount Rushmore. And we thought, this is fantastic. Surely there's a chapter on Luigi, right? He wasn't mentioned once. Not once. And I could remember my Uncle Caesar pounding his fist on the table and saying in his own inimitable way, "That's like talking about the New York Yankees and not mentioning DiMaggio." So my uncle and I didn't give up. We decided to look for Luigi one more time in Washington, in the Borglum papers. And I could remember standing in the library with my uncle, him standing next to me, both looking through the papers, and I could feel an energy coming from him. And I looked down and I said, "Do you want me to go sightseeing and you could do this yourself?" And he'd look at me and say, "Yes, I'd like you to leave right now." It was so important to him that he do this by himself. So I allowed him that out of respect. And what he found was a treasure trove. And he told me finding these papers was the greatest moment of my life. I'll give you just a snapshot of what my Uncle Caesar found. In 1933, Gutzon Borglum hired Luigi to be the chief carver. Gutzon Borglum writes that a stone expert that I hired was harassed by the Rapid City office, petty dickering about wages. He has left the mountain and he will not return. You see, Luigi quit the mountain 4 times. The harassment was that great. He was told by the men that they did not want him. You can make your own case as to why that might have been. So Luigi quits, and all work stops on the mountain. All work. Gutzon Borglum writes, "There's never been any stone carvers on the mountain. There's only been one, and he left and will never return because of the chronic sabotage directed against him." So Borglum is desperate. What does he do? He needs his chief carver. So he writes to the commission, "We must keep Bianco and keep him happy. You pay him $10 a day, I'll pay the rest out of my pocket." His knowledge, his talent, his expertise is far too important. And so my grandfather returns for the love of Borglum and the love of the work. Borglum says, "Bianco is back. He is the only intelligent, efficient stone carver on the work." And you know, the carving of Mount Rushmore doesn't mention him once. Well, we mention him today. And with all due respect to Mount Rushmore, who refuses to formally recognize him as chief carver, we formally recognize him today. We give him his place in history. And I am convinced that this memorial and Doug Gladstone's wonderful book and George Latimer's work and all of the people who have come in contact with this wonderful story will be another step in getting Mount Rushmore to do the right thing. To do the right. At this moment, I would like to invite my Aunt Gloria, my sisters Andrea, Maria, Amy, and my niece Kim to unveil this very special memorial. Uncle Caesar, this is for you. Grandpa, this is for you. I'd like everyone to say, "Viva Luigi!"
Viva Luigi!
Slowly pull. Let's have a hand for Michael Karokian. Okay, get ready for Dawn.
I'm sorry, Dawn. I'm sorry.
1, 2, 3.